Hey, shalom everyone. Amanda here, and welcome back to By His Grace Marriage Ministry Podcast. I pray that you all have had a blessed day and that you continue to have a blessed evening. So I wanted to come on today and do a fun word. I just wanted to share some suggestions with you all. I've actually had a few emails that have asked me these questions, and I've probably mentioned certain things throughout the podcast within the past year, but I want to go ahead and just do an episode that just specifically talks about this so that if you need something to refer back to, you know what episode to go to. So I just thought it would be really fun to just share this and just give everybody some suggestions and ideas, because it's really important to still implement this into our marriages. So I wanted to share ideas for romantic dates at home or going out. So I just want to share a few things before I actually start sharing the suggestions that I put together. And I did this last night. I just wanted to put some ideas together. But I wanted to share a few things first before I go ahead and jump in. So the first thing that I want to share is I have several suggestions here. I have quite a decent sized list. And so obviously, you know, I have different, how can I say this? You know, I have people that, you know, follow this podcast that are still single. And then I have people who follow this podcast who are married. So some of these suggestions will be for those that are in their marriages only, because they involve intimacy. Some of the ideas you can do if you all are still in your courtship or you're dating, so, things like that is what I mean. So if you are someone who is, still single, you haven't stepped into your marriage yet, then obviously you know that some of these will not be for you just yet until you step into your marriage. So I just want to make that clear. I don't want anybody to email me saying, hey, are you suggesting that, we can do this even though we haven't, stepped into our marriage yet? No, that's not what I'm suggesting. And if you've followed my podcast since the beginning, you know very well where I stand with those things and what the scriptures say concerning that. So again, because I have a mix of, there are people that are single, there are people that are in their marriages, and so on and so forth. Obviously use discernment, and I think you'll know which ones you can do for now, or, and which ones need to wait until you're in your marriage, or ones that you can do now because you are in your marriage. So I just wanted to say that. I wanted to throw that out there for clarification. I really don't want anybody to think that I am telling them that it's okay for them to do certain things when they're still in their courtship process or dating or whatever. And by dating, I mean with the person you're supposed to marry, not going out and dating different people, okay? I talked about this in what episode was it? I think Promise, when I was talking about engagement and what that actually looks like. It's not what a lot of people think, which is the traditions that are in our culture. But I talked about that, we're not really supposed to be going out and just dating a whole bunch of different people. So when I say dating or courtship, I'm referring to you already having had met your spouse and you guys are coming together. So that's what I mean by that. So another thing, of course, that I wanted to add, since we're talking about dates, is that, and again, a lot of probably what I'm going to say is, as always, usually, is repetitive. It's so important for those that are in their marriages. It's important that we never stop dating our spouses, okay? It is so vital that we make time for our spouses, no matter how long you've been married, no matter what season your marriage and your lives are in, because I know lives can change. They can get chaotic. There's different seasons, especially if you're having babies, or you have a family period, you have children. If, your spouse is working a lot, or someone is not feeling well, or somebody's ill, there's different seasons. And I've always talked about that in marriage concerning intimacy and time with your spouse. There's different seasons. There's low frequency and high frequency. However, it's still important that no matter what is going on in your marriage and your lives together, that you are carving out time for your spouse, and that your spouse really comes first before a lot of things. as much as you can. And that's just the natural order and design that Yah created, right? Yah first, and then our spouses, and then our children, and then our ministries and careers, family members, friends, and so on. So it's so important, because what really keeps a marriage healthy is being able to connect and consistently connect with your spouse, especially on intimate levels, but even just being able to come together and just talk and have a conversation, or just hold each other, cuddle for a little bit. It doesn't always have to lead to intimacy, but also there are different types of intimacy as well. It's not always just lovemaking. Intimacy are a lot of other things combined as well. And if we want to have a healthy marriage and healthy family, it's important that we take time out with our spouse, no matter how busy we get, no matter how tired we are, no matter what's going on, no matter our family dynamic, no matter what. We need to make time with our spouse the same way that we need to make time with Yah daily. So very important. That's why I want to do this episode. I want to give suggestions, because it is important that we continue to date our spouse, and here's the thing. Honestly, when I was, sitting down to put this list together and thinking about this, there are so many options, brothers and sisters out there. You just need to get creative. And it doesn't always have to cost a lot of money. Now, I know that we live in a time where, things are very expensive right now. And I know, believe me, I think we're all feeling that, and it's just very difficult right now. However, a lot of what I put together doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Now, I'm not saying that if Yah has blessed you all with a decent income, your finances are well, and you have some money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with once in a blue moon doing something, maybe really special or one-time thing, like maybe going to a different country, like have a vacation or something like that. For me personally, I would love to travel. I've always wanted to see Paris. I've always wanted to see London, England. There's just a couple places that have always piqued my interest and would love to see them one day. But it's also not very important to me either. I'm somebody personally that I'm very simple and very basic. It doesn't take much to surprise me. It doesn't take much for me to have fun and enjoy things. So I'm not somebody that needs to do these really extravagant, luxurious things. It's just not who I am. It doesn't mean I can't appreciate them, but the way that I see it is that Yah makes the way. I'm someone that I don't think it's good to get into debt. I don't think it's good to have credit cards or to max them out. I don't think it's good to take out loans from banks, borrow from the government, things like that. If it's meant for you, it's meant for you. That's how I see it. Yah makes the way one way or another. But I'm definitely somebody that doesn't want to get into debt or, borrow from the government, things like that. It's definitely stuff that I don't want to do. And so especially for like vacations and things like that, I'm not willing to get a credit card and max it out just to do that or use it and then have to pay it back. I just don't think that that's wise. I also wanted to mention that, there's a difference. So for those of you that have families, have children and things like that, there's time with your children, there's family time. You could do like family game night, things like that, or, a family vacation and things like that. But that's different from just the two of you spending time together. So you need to make time for that as well. And again, I understand it can be difficult just depending on how life is and what's going on at the moment, especially if you have children, if you have babies, littles, obviously you would need a babysitter and things like that. Just pray that Yah would provide someone that you can trust to watch your children for a few hours, or maybe family members keep them overnight to spend the night or the weekend, maybe with their grandparents or something like that. And just plan accordingly, if you have older children like teens and things like that, plan around where, they have plans with friends. They're going to go out for the evening, or maybe they're going to go stay the night. Maybe they're going away to camp or whatever, just plan accordingly and use the time wisely. There's definitely ways and options and times that you will definitely be able to plan these types of things. And if you're someone that hasn't had children yet, then, this is obviously your chance to be able to spend as much time as you possibly can with each other, that whole honeymoon phase or season, so I would definitely take advantage of that. If you're both exhausted, you're just gonna have to push that aside and get that second wind. And, because this is important, You should never stop dating your spouse. And I know life can throw surprises at us and seasons can get really hard. There's trials and things like that. Believe me, I know. But it's still so important that we try to make the best effort that we can to carve out time with our spouses, even if it's just sitting down and having a conversation with one another for a little bit and just catching up with one another, and or even just cuddling while you're watching something or talking or whatever. It's so important that you have that connection daily with your spouse, even if your husband is gone working all day long, or whatever that the case may be. Or if you've just had a baby or babies and you're trying to adjust to all of that, you still need to make time for your spouses, sisters especially. I've heard a lot of cases where, you've just had a baby or babies, you're adjusting to that, totally get it, and your husband should understand as well. But you cannot forget your husband, Husbands do feel left out often when new babies come in, even though they're just as happy to be daddies and things like that, but they do feel left out because your attention is all on the baby, and baby needs you a lot more than they need daddy, especially during their first, few months, especially if you're nursing and things like that. So, oftentimes our husbands can feel left out, so it's really important that you carve that time out, even though I know you're healing from childbirth and you're exhausted and adjusting and your body is going through changes, things like that. But it's important that you remember your husband and that you spend time with him. And then husbands, if you have a job that you work all day, you come home, I know you're exhausted. I know, especially if you didn't have the greatest of days, it's still important that you carve out some time with your wife. And likewise, wives, it's important that you carve out time with your husband, no matter how your day went with the kids at home and things like that. So it's just really about making one another priority, no matter how tired you are. And I know that can be hard. I know it sounds like I'm asking a lot from you all. But believe me, it will really help to keep a healthy marriage and for you and your spouse to stay connected. And again, in order to have a healthy family, you need to have a healthy marriage. And of course, that goes hand in hand with, having a relationship with Yahuwah, reading his word and things like that. So anyways, with all of that being said, I want to go ahead and share with you the list that I put together. Again, some of these things will probably sound a bit repetitive. Some of these things I have mentioned in specific episodes. Like I know some of these things that I'm going to suggest, I suggested in my Marriage Bed series. And if you haven't listened to the Marriage Bed series yet, I highly recommend that you do. A really great series. It goes into a lot of detail. I did label these episodes explicit just because I do talk a lot about intimacy and things like that in quite a bit of detail. So the first episode that I actually did of the Marriage Bed series was actually, I think, in season 2 or season 3. So you'll have to search for that one. But 2, 3, and 4, so I did 4 episodes total. They're back to back in season 6. So I did those just not too long ago, fairly recently. But I have a lot of information in there, a lot of details, a lot of things like that. So if you haven't listened to that series yet, please, whenever you feel led, I encourage you to go back and listen to them. But some of the things that I'm going to mention here tonight are in those episodes. So just wanted to let you all know. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And again, please use discernment. Some of these are, specifically for those that are in their marriage. Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the list that I was able to put together. So the first suggestion that I have is going on a picnic. So obviously this really depends what season you're in terms of the weather. Obviously this would be something to do during spring or summer or fall even. If you live in a state where you get snow and things like that, obviously you wouldn't be able to do this. But I think going on a picnic is really simple, but yet can be really romantic and just really nice and relaxing. Pick a favorite place outdoors that you both enjoy, that you would be able, to lay a blanket down and just bring your favorite foods and just really share that time with each other. And if it's something that you end up staying to do all day, I mean, it's just nice and relaxing to be able to connect, talk. Depending on what park you're at, maybe you can walk around and just look at nature, or, creeks or whatever that might be there, or lakes, and just really have a nice time together. I personally love the outdoors, so just being able to be outdoors and connect with nature and just, Yah's creation and things like that, I think is really wonderful to do. So again, really, really simple, but it can also be a really great date idea for you and your spouse. Just kind of reconnect and relax and enjoy some good food together, and maybe walk around and just connect outdoors and things like that, get fresh air and sunshine and things like that. So that was my first suggestion there. So my next one, I'm probably going to sound really like corny or cheesy suggesting this, but I think it's a lot of fun. So playing board games, and by playing board games, I'm talking like Monopoly, Clue, Life, all the good classics that hopefully are still around out there and haven't had a lot changed. Just playing some board games together and just really enjoying, have a few snacks and some drinks and just have fun, just let go of, being an adult for a little bit and your problems and just life, and just really enjoy the game and have fun together, Another suggestion too, along with that, is adult board games. So if you want to spice things up, and just really get some intimacy going there, which, to be honest with you, even just playing regular board games, this is the wonderful thing about dates, is that when you go on dates and you do these things together, I can guarantee you that probably 98% of the time, once you're done doing whatever activity it is, you're both going to want to be intimate, because you've connected on such an awesome level that it's definitely probably going to lead to the bed. More than likely. Like, I would be surprised if it didn't, because when you're doing these things together, even if it's just things like going on a picnic or playing a board game, things that aren't sensual, but because you're connecting, more than likely that after you've done these activities, your day or your night is going to lead back to the marriage bed. So, this is why these things are so important too. But you can also do sensual things, So adult board games, I actually talked about this in my marriage bed series, in one of the episodes, I think it was part 2, where I actually gave references and websites where you can actually download free adult board games. They were Christian based. So again, I spoke about using discernment and that there are limits, because there are certain things that are within our culture in terms of intimacy that would actually be considered unclean or, not honorable to Yah. So if you need more information on that, please go back and listen to that episode. I'm not going to take the time to explain it here because I want to stay on track. But anyways, you can play board games, those classic board games, or you can spice it up and play some adult board games. So if you need suggestions, again, go back and look, it's not a video. Go back and listen to, I think it was part 2 of the marriage bed series, or part 3. I think it's part 3. It's one of those. I'm so sorry, brothers and sisters. Read the description. That's why there's descriptions for each episode, because sometimes I forget. So anyways, that's my second suggestion, is play some classic board games together, or spice it up a little bit and play some adult board games as well. All right, so my next suggestion, and this can either be at home or you can go to a restaurant, but go for a romantic dinner. Maybe even a candlelight dinner. Now I know with restaurants, I think the only ones that really have candles or candlelight option are like the really fancy, probably expensive restaurants. I don't know, but you know what? You can have a romantic candlelight dinner at home. And I think that's really special too. Just, make your favorite meal, together, and, light some candles, set the atmosphere. And you can have a nice romantic dinner together, just the two of you. And if you want to take it up a notch and just really kind of have, again, that intimacy going on, you can even dine naked together if you want to, or, just kind of make it fun and spice it up. Again, get creative, whatever you feel led to do it, and just really make it special for the two of you, and just see where it leads. And like I said, 99% of the time it's going to lead back to your bed. So, which that's good. It's a good goal. So, so romantic candlelight dinner for two, whether you go out and go to one of those restaurants that require a reservation, you can dress up nice, the both of you. And, like I said, the goal is not to spend a lot of money, but I think every once in a blue moon, it's okay to do that. So this would be one of those where it's like, if you want to go to a nice restaurant, a fancy restaurant, you want to both dress up nice, which I think that's really nice. That's really special and, a nice experience. Go to a restaurant that does have candlelight, or you need a reservation, and dress up nice, the both of you, and go have dinner together. So that's my third option. All right, so my next one, and I think this is a really fun one because I love dancing. I haven't done it in a really long time, but I love dancing and I love learning new dances. So my next date idea is go dancing. Go dancing together, or go learn dancing. Go take dancing lessons. Dancing is so much fun. It's a great workout, and yes, that will draw the two of you so close. Now, I'm not saying go and start doing dirty dancing. I mean, you can at home, but if you're going to go out and dance, don't go that far. But dancing can be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I love to dance. I love to learn new dances. And me being part Hispanic, I love to learn like salsa dancing and merengue and stuff like that. But then I also love to do stuff like I love country music and I love country dancing and things like that. So I love those dances as well. And I've actually been dying to learn more of those dances and do that. I don't know why. I really want to do that. So as I was making this list, I was like, what? Dancing would be so, so fun. So, whether you're going out and taking dancing lessons and learning together, or you go out and just go dance, and have a good time. So I think that's a super fun date night or date idea to do. Absolutely. So, all right. So yeah, go dancing or take dancing lessons. So my next one is outdoor activities. So especially if you or your spouse or both of you love to be outdoors, you can do things like go camping, which camping is a lot of fun. You can go hiking, you can just go and explore, horseback riding. I mean, there's so many different options that you can do. Again, some of these things may require money, and again, that's okay as long as you're not, spending a ton of money. But, hiking doesn't really cost, I don't think. Camping, depending on where you go, it can and it can't. I don't know. It just really depends. But there's a lot of outdoor things to do, and especially if you both love the outdoors, those are some great date ideas to get out and connect with one another and have fun, so I wrote that down. My next one is go volunteer somewhere together. This is really special because to be able to go out and, whether you go volunteer at a shelter together or at a church or at a ministry or whatever, volunteering is just an amazing thing to be able to do. To go out and help others is such an incredible experience. I know I've done it a lot in my past. It's something that whenever I saw an opportunity, I would always go and do it because that's just my heart and I love to be able to do it. But to go do it with your spouse is such a special experience. And I think that constitutes as a date idea. I really do. It may not be romantic in the moment, but it's special. And it's something that the two of you will have as some really good memories and maybe even talk about it and do it again, and I just think that that's wonderful. And I don't know about you, but I think it's so sexy to see your spouse in that kind of environment and helping, and that's just so amazing to me, and just it really makes you proud too, like to see your spouse, helping other people and being compassionate. And I don't know about you, but that's like really sexy too. So even something like this can lead later on to the two of you coming together. But I just think it's a really special date idea to just get together and go volunteer somewhere together. Give your time to others together. I just think that's really special. So I had to add that to the list. All right. So the next one is, you guys can do like maybe take a cooking class together or an art class together, do something like that, or maybe go to, okay, once again, I know it's probably going to sound corny. Everybody's different. You can go to a museum together. I love museums. I love things like that, or planetariums. And, I guess you could say these are more like educational things, but I think that's a fun date to go do educational stuff together or go learn something together, So yeah, I think that would be something that's really fun. Like there's something here where I live. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we have this area in Colorado Springs called Old Colorado City, and they have this and it's not far from where I live, but it's really beautiful. Like they have this really beautiful, like it's not like downtown but it's its own little town, if that makes sense. And they recently had this event where it was called like an art walk, and they held it for like 3 nights in a row, 3 evenings. And let me tell you something, their town at night is beautiful. And they have this thing where you could walk the town and, you could look at all these art paintings and galleries and things like that and just explore together. And I thought that's a really awesome date idea to do, just kind of walk hand in hand and check out all these things. And you can even stop for a bite to eat or whatever and just do things like that, So educational things I think would be fun to do together. I really, really do, to do things like that. I think is really awesome. So, all right, my next one is, and I kind of mentioned this before when I was talking about having a romantic dinner, but getting together and making your favorite meal together, like make it together. And then afterwards you can either like watch a movie, or maybe read something together or something like that. Just kind of like a relaxing evening at home. But I think it would be fun, again, especially if you went and took a cooking class together, maybe try out what you learned. But the idea is that you make it together. You're both in the kitchen together, making the meal together. So I thought that would be really special to do as well. All right, my next suggestion is give each other massages. So this is a really, really awesome one because, one, I think we can all benefit from a massage, especially if it's a full body one. And it can be, it can be really intimate. And I think that that's really important. And, I'm just going to give some tips, to make massages romantic, which I really don't think this area needs any help, because the fact that, you're rubbing down one another, I mean, that's right there, that's enough. But you can make it even more romantic by setting up the atmosphere. So light a few candles, play some relaxing music that you both enjoy and agree on. I personally recommend anything that's instrumental. I think it's really nice and soothing and relaxing, or like jazz music or stuff like that. Like I said, light a few candles. If you have a diffuser, put on a diffuser with some essential oils. And then choose your oils that you're going to use to massage one another. So for those of you who aren't familiar with essential oils, I am really huge on essential oils. So if you have any questions, please email me. But there are a ton of essential oils out there that are sensual and really great for massages. And then there are carrier oils as well, because you don't always want to use essential oils by themselves. And then, of course, there are massage oils out there that are specifically for massages, but you can make your own, DIY. I do that all the time and it comes out amazing. So if you have any questions and would love, recipes and ideas, please email me and I would love to do that. I love essential oils. So anything natural that you can make yourself and put together is amazing. So, but anyways, give each other massages. Who couldn't benefit from that, right? Especially if you've had a long day. I'm sure your husband would appreciate, massaging your shoulders, or, wives, same thing, husbands, I'm sure that wives would love a massage as well, and it's just a very intimate time together as well, just being able to connect with one another on that level. So I think that is, just a really special, intimate date idea to do. It's beneficial. It's, wonderful for both spouses to have that. You'll feel super relaxed and probably really super in the mood afterwards too. So it's, awesome idea. All right, so the next one is, going on a weekend getaway. So planning a getaway. And again, this doesn't have to be anything extreme. It could be something as simple as maybe, depending on where you live, depending what state you live in, there are options. Just, look around to see what's available. Like, maybe you can get a cabin for a couple of days or a couple of nights or the weekend or whatever. Maybe you can just go to a nice, decent, hotel or resort, or maybe even camping, just going away for a getaway, like a weekend getaway. And again, there's a lot of options, and it doesn't have to be too expensive. Like where I live in Colorado, there are a lot of different things to do out here. Colorado is a beautiful state, and there are different options depending on where you live in Colorado. And some of it can be rather expensive, and then some of it, is rather affordable. There's a lot of different places, different things to do, and then we have the mountains and things like that. So there's a lot of different things to do. I know personally for me, I would love to do something like, rent a cabin or something like that. And it doesn't have to be this really luxurious cabin. It can be something really simple and basic, but just to kind of be like out in the middle of nowhere or, just be out, in the outdoors and just have water nearby, because I love water too, things like that, just stuff like that. Or you could go to a different state, you could travel, like I said, if Yah's blessed you financially, and that's what you would like to use it for. I mean, as long as you're not putting yourself in any kind of debt, or, you're not going to pay bills or whatever just to do this, if this is something you can do, then definitely, if you wanted to always go, visit Florida or New York or, then do that, but a weekend getaway is really, it's a little bit different. It's not really a vacation. It's just getting away and going somewhere for a couple of days. So this is a little bit different. And again, there's many options for that. It's just depending on what you and your spouse both like, and where you're at, what area you're in, and things like that. If you have a camper, if you're someone that has a camper, an RV, I never understood what the differences were with those. I know there's some you hook up and pull, and then there's some that you literally drive. I don't know what the difference is with all those, but if you have something like that, take that for the weekend. Go to a lake or something like that. Again, if you're in the right months, the right seasons. If it's winter time, then that's where maybe like a cabin would come in, or just a nice little hotel, with maybe room service or something like that, or it has a pool or whatever, I don't know. I personally don't like pools. I don't want to swim in anything with chemicals. I prefer living water, like lakes and rivers and things like that, but in oceans. So, anyways, there's lots of ideas, but definitely a weekend getaway, I think every couple could benefit from at some point or another, at least once a year, maybe twice, So definitely a great date idea as well. The next one I really love, have breakfast in bed together. I think, whether you order something or go grab something real quick or make it yourselves real quick, even if it's something as basic as if you drink coffee, having coffee together and toast or whatever, or you have a big breakfast, have breakfast in bed together. Cuddle up in bed together and have breakfast. Do not get out of bed for anything except for to get the food and whatever, and then just eat there. Now, I know some of you may not like the idea of, eating in your bed and things like that. I understand. But I think doing that for one time, just as a date idea, I think would be really awesome to just have breakfast in bed together, and just enjoy that time together. All right, so my next one is rather basic as well. Just being able, again, like I said earlier, to be able to get together and just connect and have a conversation. And you can do that while you're having a snack together, or maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or, whatever. Whether you're sitting on the couch in the living room or at the table in the kitchen or in bed together, have a conversation together, catch up with one another. I think that's so very vital that we communicate daily with our spouses, but that we also really take that time to really just have a good, if possible, uninterrupted time together to just have a conversation and catch up with one another. So my next one is also really simple. Just cuddle up together and read a favorite book together. So obviously some people are not readers. Some people don't really prefer to read, but I just think it would be an awesome idea versus like sitting there and watching a movie or something. Change it up a little bit and maybe read a book together, see if that works for you. Again, my suggestions are not going to be for everybody. These are just ideas to give to you. You can take them, you can leave them, you can take them and change certain things to it or add your own twist. These are just suggestions of mine, and most of these are things that I like and that I would love to do. So it doesn't mean that you all would, but they're ideas. So, so yeah, cuddle up together, whether in bed or on the couch or whatever, and read a good book together. My next one is watching the sunrise or sunset together or both. I think that is so romantic and such a special time to be able to do that. Also, you can, go somewhere, whether it's, adparked in your car, in your vehicle, or go to a park, lay a blanket down and look at the stars together. Just admire Yah's creation together. I just really enjoy that. I think that that's very romantic to be able to just sit there together, lay there together, and just watch these things. You don't even really have to talk. You can just watch them, just watch the sun come up or watch the sunset or just stare up at the stars, and just do that together, and you don't even really have to say a word to one another, and just do that and just kind of hold one another, cuddle together, and I think that speaks volumes. So I thought that would be a really nice idea as well. So my next one is just go for a drive, go drive somewhere, go explore a town maybe that, you've never been to before in your area, or even one that you have been to before. Just go for a drive or a scenic drive, or go on a road trip, maybe go visit a family member or a friend, or maybe drive to an ocean, a beach, depending on where you live, or, you can have a destination. Obviously, a road trip leads to a destination, but a road trip is fun. I grew up doing a lot of road trips with my family, and I have a lot of fond memories doing road trips, and things like that. So I think road trips are a lot of fun to be able to do. Of course, nowadays it's so difficult with the price of the gas and stuff like that. But just going for a simple drive, go out and drive to the next town or whatever, go check something out and then be back in a few hours, or go on a road trip and be gone for a few days or maybe a week, So in other words, if you're going somewhere, instead of flying there, maybe drive if you can, So I think, those are some awesome date ideas as well, and it gives you time to connect with one another. Okay, so my next suggestion is to do something that your spouse wants to do. So, say your spouse is super outdoorsy, maybe you're not too keen on that, but maybe they always wanted to go hiking or something like that. Do that. Just ask your spouse, hey, what's something you would like to do? Take turns. Okay, this time it's your turn, you pick, and just do that. Whatever that it is that your spouse would really like to do, support them in that and, do it together. So I think that's really important, because obviously, you're not always going to agree or like the same things that your spouse does, but I think it's important to give certain things a try, just to show them that you love them and that you want to spend time with them. So that's another date idea. Okay, so the next one is definitely, for those that are in your marriage. So make it a night or day, whatever time of the day it is. Have some bedroom fun, explore a fantasy together. Now, what I am going to say on this, and again, if you haven't, please go check out the Marriage Bed series because I talk about this. explore a fantasy together, but make sure this fantasy is not anything that would cross a line that would be considered unclean or an abomination to Yah. So there's nothing wrong with having a fantasy and exploring it together. Just make sure that it's not going to, and again, if you're not familiar with what that would be, please go back and listen to that series, because I do talk about that in there in more detail about that. So, but definitely an awesome date idea is, take it to the bed and explore a fantasy together that maybe you both or one of you has always wanted to explore and try out. So it's another date idea. The next one is also really romantic. Take a shower or bath together. So obviously this depends on, what you have accessible. If you have a big enough bathtub, if you have a big enough shower, it can be hard if you don't really have a good sized bathtub, especially if you and your spouse are tall people or, whatever. And then also some people just have the stand-up shawls, sorry. I'm so tongue-tied this afternoon or evening. Stand-up shower stalls. It just really depends on what you have. Whatever you have, make it work. But I think taking a shower or a bath together is really romantic, and really helps you to connect for sure. So my next one, and I think that this is really important and something that husband and wife should do as much as they can together. But coming together and praying or having worship and praise time together is really important, and I do count that as a date idea, because I think it's important that husband and wife connect on that level like that. And believe it or not, that is a very special thing to do, and can definitely lead to a deeper level of intimacy as well. So I think that's vital. Of course, this is something all these ideas discuss with your spouse, obviously, but I think that that's really important. It's something that, husband and wife should do daily, if at all possible. But I did add that as a date idea because I think there's nothing more romantic and special than being able to come together with your spouse and worship Yah together. So I wanted to add that. Okay, and the last one that I have on the list is surprise date. So, for example, husband, you could totally plan a getaway or plan a romantic night in or a romantic night out and not tell your wife until the time comes, and then vice versa. So wives, you can totally plan something really special and not let your husband know until right before, and just surprise them, whether it's that you're surprising them, by taking them out somewhere or surprising them with something at home. There's a lot of ideas with this. Husbands, for example, you could totally surprise your wives by coming home and, your wife, what she likes, but, you can bring her some flowers, maybe her favorite treat or snack that she has, and then let her know to get ready that you're going to take her out. Wives, you can totally surprise your husbands when they get home and be waiting for them with nothing on and be waiting for them in the bed, or, there's so many ideas with that. But surprising your spouse with a special time together, a special date idea, is really awesome, and you really can't go wrong with that. And I think that that's something that spouses should definitely try to implement every now and then, is just surprise your spouse. Don't even tell them, and just surprise them. Now, your spouse. If they don't, there are people that don't like surprises. They don't like to be surprised. So if that's how your spouse is, then I wouldn't suggest doing that. But there are a ton of people that do love surprises and can really appreciate the thought that's behind it. And so that's why I added it to the list, because there's just a lot of different things that you can do to surprise your spouse. Again, as long as they like to be surprised. Some people don't. So of course, with everything that I've listed, obviously discuss this with your spouse. Make sure it's something that you both would enjoy. Never try to force your spouse to do something that they just don't really like to do. It's a disrespect, and it's not going to be a good time at all. the idea is to be able to have a really good time, to be able to connect with one another and just grow in your marriage, grow together as best friends, grow as lovers. And that's the whole beautiful thing about marriage, is that with your spouse, you're not only one flesh, but you're best friends. You come together in that level. You become good lovers. And, that's why it's so important that we continue to date our spouses to the best of our ability. Again, I know there are different seasons of life. I know there are different seasons of marriage. But, especially when you're going through trials and tough times, even more so, you should really be trying to, really focus on your spouse where you can, and just try to connect with one another, because if you don't connect enough, then you start to drift apart. And when you start to drift apart, the enemy sees an opening to come in and start attacking your marriage and you and your spouse. So you definitely want to stay connected. Please do not stop dating each other just because you're married. Unfortunately, that's another tradition and culture that everybody has gotten so used to, that, when you come together and you're dating, you do all these fun things, and then when you're married, all that stuff stops. No, all that stuff should still be going on. You should always still be connecting with your spouse and finding ways to spend time together, and finding ways to be, to have fun and be yourselves around each other. Be silly, be goofy, have fun. Like when I was talking about playing board games, it's one of the reasons why I love board games. I don't know about you, but when I play board games, I just have so much fun, and I feel like I can let go and not be serious and just have fun and almost feel like a kid again, and there's nothing wrong with that. All of these things we should be able to just let go and have fun and enjoy the moment and be, a little bit silly and just let go and have fun. I can't say that enough, and believe me, when you do things, even something as simple as going on a picnic, playing a board game, or going dancing, or, things like that, I guarantee you that you and your spouse are going to be closer than ever, and that's why it's so important that we do these things and that we connect, or even if it's just something as simple as sitting and having a conversation with one another, because you're being vulnerable, you're opening up to one another, you're sharing things with one another, you're talking, you're communicating, right? So even these very, very simple things, you're connecting, and especially for those of you that have just gotten married, you've just come together with your spouse, it's also a great way to learn about one another and continue to learn about one another, because there's so much that we need to learn about our spouses as we come together. We may have things in common, and then we won't have things in common, but each of us are unique. Our spouses are unique, and it's important that we get to learn who our spouse is, who God created them to be, right? Who Yah called them to be, right? And just their likes, their dislikes, and before you know it, you know your spouse better than anybody, because you're that close and you've spent so much time together. You know everything about them, even the little things. You know what they like to eat, what they don't like, how they take their coffee, all these little things, and that's so important in a marriage. For a marriage to thrive, it's so important that we know our spouses. And not just know in an intimate way, but know them inside and out. And what really helps us to do that is by taking time out, by carving time out, and to have these dates, these date nights or date days or whatever you want to call them, or getaways, and just being able to share that time, being able to connect on so many different levels, not just physical. We need that. We need to connect mentally. We need to connect emotionally and spiritually and physically with our spouses. So that's why I wanted to do this episode tonight. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a list of some, romantic date ideas for at home or going out, because it is vital. And dating shouldn't stop after you've gotten married. You should always be pursuing your spouse. You should always date your spouse and take time out with them. And I can't say that enough. So that is it. I will end with that. If you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to email me. Again, I highly encourage you to check out the Marriage Bet series if you haven't already done so. A lot of great information in there in the area of intimacy, and also some date ideas as well. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. So anyways, I hope that this word is helpful. I pray that it is a blessing to all of you, whether you are single and, just barely coming together with your spouse, or you're married. I pray that it's a blessing for you regardless. And again, any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. So that is everything. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will talk with you in my next episodes. Shalom.